Hi, I'm Brennan, but you have to call me NightHawk. NightHawk can sure play the hell out of them steel balls. Rumor has it, this is like 1 of 5 total NightHawks in the world to actually get shot. Wild, right? They actually make bang noises on top of looking really neat. Remember, running your gun is cooler than posting your guns, friends. Flex drills, not dollar bills. So, story time. Picture this, you're a Subaru driving, purple guava cupcake vaping Staccato owner. You look down on anyone and everyone who doesn't spend as much as you did on your pistol. Glocks make you sicker than the neon green underglow lights on your Subaru. 1911s make you laugh louder than your 18-inch fart can on your exhaust. You can't even bring yourself to associate yourself with those of such bad taste. You go as far as to separate yourself from the other peasants when you hit the range for your annual 212 rounds on that flat range indoors, but just close enough so everyone can see that you're toting your appendix carry rig with 17 spare mag holders. But something is off. Nobody's looking. Nobody's paying attention. You take a long drag on your nicotine flash drive and blow the vapor into the air. Surely they'll see your smoke screen, right? But you see an audience in the bay a couple over. Everyone is cheering and shouting in disbelief that your Staccato has garnered zero attention. You walk down to see a majestic, fire-breathing, flat dark earth masterpiece. Listen, Cody Curry here, and this is 110 SAS Actual. The NightHawk Customs Dirt Hawk, the Sand NightHawk Customs SandHawk 2011 pistol. Woo-wee! Boys, I hope you are ready for this one. One of the most revered custom 2011s on the market. Not to mention, well, it's one of the most expensive new production pistols that you can even order. So, we are gathered here today to answer the question. Is this thing even worth it? Is $6,000 for a handgun going to produce results 6 times better than a $1,000 handgun? Is it going to be twice as great as an even $3,000 pistol? I mean, the dang thing should at least be reliable, right? So, Kings, let's dive in. NightHawk Customs, a mom and pop kind of shop, was founded in 2004 by 4 dudes in Berryville, Arkansas. High-end custom 1911s was just the name of their game, offering just 2 different models, the GRP and the Talon. With now overwhelming success, they offer almost like 50 different custom iterations of 2011s and 1911 pistols on top of that, from over 50 different actual employees and just a few less than that of actual gunsmiths. Now, each and every single pistol that leaves NightHawk's shop is built from scratch by one single smith. One gun, one smith. That's part of their motto. That's their philosophy. Each and every single part on this gun starts as a billet hunk of steel, purposely machined larger than spec, then fine-tuned and custom hand-fit, all by one single smith. I mean, it's pretty impressive, really. So, like, NightHawk literally opened a book about Henry Ford and how he revolutionized the manufacturing process and said, nah, we're good, bro. So, the Smiths do their wizardry on the steel, bingo, bango, bongo, you have a sanded hawk, and it is born. But it doesn't stop there. So then the pistol is test fired to measure functionality and also a very strict accuracy requirement. The next step is sanding out any of the machining marks, beveling any like the 90-degree corners, and just making the pistol overall more refined. Then every single one of these things are hand engraved, they're packed up, bought by a scalper with a robot, and sold for like $1,000 over MSRP. Okay, not always, but it does happen, and sometimes a lot. So the SandHawk is a pretty new model to their lineup. You know, the 2011, it's chambered in 9mm. Most 2011s are. There are some that are made 45, 10mm, but this one here, it's 9mm. What makes this thing so different? Well, it's labeled on their website under the Tactical tab, which is reserved to only 3 models. It's also only one of a couple in the entire lineup that they have with an integrated compensator. Now, we all know 9mm has a reputation for like devastating and super harsh recoil, right? But yeah, they machined a comp into this thing. A hand-fit 2011 pistol and 9mm it's gonna shoot like a 22 anyways. But you know what the mad lads over there said? He's like, why don't we make this thing shoot more like a BB gun instead of a 22? That's what we need. It's kind of like when God created a chicken. The chicken was great, lays eggs, makes great dino nuggies for the boys, but wasn't completely satisfied. So he said, waterproof that chicken, give it a kazoo, and a duck was born. Always looking to make improvements. I like that. So anyways, on top of the compensator, we have wider serration cuts here in the slide, made for like, you know, additional grip and slacking and just manipulating the slide. A monolithic frame, hand-fit match-grade barrel, ultra-high cut front strap, and to top it off, quite literally to top it off, a 14-karat solid gold bead right here on the front side. I'm not kidding. This thing is legitimately made of 14-karat gold. Like, as if it wasn't a flex enough, you know, to own a NightHawk and bring it to the range and shoot it, they go and slap 14-karat gold on this thing. Just wild. So, we know how it's made. We know what it's made of. But does the SandHawk put its money where its gold is? So when I got the call, I went, picked it up, grabbed my can 2011 mags, and headed out to the farm. Did a quick strip, dropped some of that factory-provided gun butter on the important parts, and, you know, just went to work. My initial feelings on this guy, you know, I hate to say this, you know, the thing is, it was just very slow. It's lethargic, that's the best word for it. The slide just moves at its own speed. It didn't have like any sense of urgency, you know, to extract that cartridge, strip a new one, and seat it. So I keep like 25 2011 mags loaded in that can, you know, like whatever. I brought every single one of those to the range that day, and every single one of those mags, a failure occurred. Every single mag. So peep this video here. You can see that the slide isn't completely into battery. It's like it got hung up or something. Each malfunction was exactly the same. The booger just wouldn't seat the bullet all the way home. But here's the thing though, it was so dang close. All it took to have the slide go completely into battery was an extremely light nudge. Like honestly, if you shook it a little, it would seat. But it just kept doing that. It was pretty frustrating. Actually more like, I don't know, I was pretty disappointed. If you guys follow me, you likely know about the shenanigans I had with the PSA Sabre 10 video. There's nothing worse than when you go get a gun and you can't get it to run. And especially when you're trying to display how it shoots, you know, to the fellow kings of the gun community. So we're like 25 mags deep at this point. You know, so the next day, pretty disappointed, I called NightHawk and talked to the guy there. Super nice guy, crazy intelligent guy about the platform. Had like a good half-hour conversation with him. Now, here's essentially what I got. SandHawks are built to NightHawk specs, okay? Which is essentially just a flat dark earth TRS comp. They don't change the actual specs of a SandHawk from the TRS. It's strictly just cosmetics and maybe, you know, a couple small little things, but nothing legitimately of functionality. Now, we all know that Cerakote is absolutely thicker than say like a nitride or anodized finish. Nitride is what's on the TRS comp. Now, what happens is they send these things out to like a third party to get that super cool flat dark earth paint. And when they come back, you know, the finish is absolutely impeccable. However, the additional Cerakote can, you know, potentially take that hand fit and extremely tight tolerance weapon out of its original spec. And when the slide fitment isn't what it originally was, you're just gonna get a very tight, very sluggish gun. So after that phone call, I hosed this thing down with a can of brake cleaner and inspected it. Looked at some of the points of contact. There were parts of that coating that on the slide and the frame that were just kind of wearing a little unevenly. So being the greatest gunsmith this side of the Mississippi, I took some steel wool and polished off the Cerakote on the slide and the frame rails. Added in more of an oil-like lube and went to filming the next day. And what you see in the video is just that. A pistol that can't stop, won't stop. It ate absolutely everything I put into it and spit it out just the same. Not a single malfunction since that first day. I can honestly say, like, now this is one of my favorite pistols I've ever owned and shot. You know, so here's the thing, like the slide to frame fit, it's absolutely amazing. It's like this thing is a Swiss watch or something and it's set like there's ball bearings inside here. Go grab a Glock or something and rack it back a few times and it legitimately makes you go dang out loud. And when you're shooting it, you can feel every single part of this slide in the recoil process and what it is doing. I can literally feel the vibrations of it stripping a fresh round out of the mag and chambering a fresh one. I can't say that about a Glock. And you know, really, I can't say it about many other pistols with the exception of a handful. Now, accuracy-wise, this thing is a freaking laser beam. Now, I have some really nice wheel guns in 357, some Pythons, some custom Smith & Wessons, even a Korth. This semi-automatic pistol is freaky accurate. I put it up there with like 99% of any custom semi-auto and the vast majority of revolvers in accuracy-wise. It's absolutely silly what this thing can do with like bulk 124 ammo. Now boys, I'm nowhere near the world's best shooter. Probably not even the best shooter in this house right now, but I was playing some dot torture with this thing. It was a very odd feeling, you know, shooting at like 15 yards and whispering profanities at yourself, thinking like you dropped the shot, you pulled it left or right, only to see that there's no more painted dot on the steel and it's just a gray blob where it once was. It kind of gives you this false sense of like confidence that you're better than you actually are because the pistol's so accurate. Now, each NightHawk leaves the factory with a target proof. This one here is proof. It's not just, you know, old dad getting lucky. The gun is really just that accurate. The fit and function of this pistol is just top tier, man. If you've grown up on factory pistols and you go shoot one of these things, it's just such an interesting experience. It really is. So now that I've gassed this thing like all up here, let's bring it back to Jesus here for a minute. Now, out of the box, you get a 2-stage trigger set at roughly 3.5 pounds, which is fine really. But you know, here's the thing. It's just heavy enough to make it kind of meh for competition gun, and it's just light enough to make it kind of meh for like a tactical duty gun. Now, I understand triggers are not one size fits all, and griping about this trigger is kind of like, I don't know, complaining about the perfect house temperature, you know, which is 68 degrees, by the way. But instead it's like at 70 degrees. It's not your perfect comfort level, but let's be real here. Both temperatures are perfectly fine. Complaining about it is probably not a good thing. But some just do it better and some just feel better. And as far as the SandHawk trigger goes, I've just had better. The break is kind of long and it's not insanely crisp. That reset as well, it's not as fast as I'd like it to be. Again, you know, potato, tomato, whatever. But from the factory and for the price, I genuinely feel like, you know, I should get a trigger that like defies the laws of physics and, you know, has zero creep, zero grit on the break or the reset. Now, I plan on sending this thing off to get the trigger done to my liking, but, you know, it's kind of like buying a Bugatti and changing out the turbos in it. You still have a crazy fast car, but, you know, one's just a little bit better. It's a minor gripe about the trigger rate, but as far as the break and the reset go, objectively, it's just not a $6,000 trigger. It's a great trigger, do not get me wrong, but it's just not what I expected for $6,000. And to touch on that, here's the thing. This is a $6,000 gun. After taxes and shipping, transfer fees, whatever, you're likely gonna be like $6,300 to $6,500 in the base pistol. You're gonna want an optic on it, so let's call it $500 extra for that. You're gonna want a light on it, there's another $300. So you're gonna have like every bit of $7,000 wrapped up in this thing by the time like it's all said and done. Do you actually get the performance of that kind of loot, say over, you know, a $3,000 to $4,000 pistol? So in my opinion, you know, my own garbage opinion that is, there becomes like a fine line of diminishing returns when you're talking about having a $7,000 pistol in your hands. So like, yeah, this thing does pretty much everything very, very well. There's no questions about that. But, you know, is it twice as great as say like a $3,000, $4,000 2011? That answer is no. You know, as a matter of fact, I'm not sure that it does many things better than, you know, a $3,000 to $4,000 2011. Is it a touch smoother? Yes, absolutely. Is there a touch more attention to detail in this build? Yeah, I absolutely think that. But when you're talking about the absolute performance of this weapon, the returns just become kind of diminishing. Most 2011 or double stack 1911 pistols say in that like $3,000 to $4,000 range. It just gets to a point that, well, you know, where do I draw that line? Am I getting a $2,000 performance upgrade over the $4,000 pistol? In my own personal opinion, see, I genuinely believe that the vast majority of competitive shooters would benefit from a more solid foundation of like a $3,000 to $4,000 handgun and spend that extra like $2,000 in some high-end smithing that sets the gun up to exactly how you need the pistol to perform for you. Because, you know, I'm already gonna send this thing out to do a trigger job. I kind of want, you know, a more flared mag well. I'd like an extended slide stop. And you know, I don't particularly care for the grips, the safety, it is an ambi. So now I'm gonna be even deeper in this thing to get it the exact way that I want. Now I get it, you're not gonna gain many cool guy points when you pull up with a Staccato versus like a NightHawk or like an Atlas or some other crazy expensive 2011 platform pistol. But you know what gets cool guy points? Winning matches and shooting better than everyone else. Running your gun and not your mouth. And I genuinely believe that most shooters, the vast majority of shooters, getting a $3,000 pistol with a $3,000 package of gunsmithing, getting the parts and tuned up that work best for your particular application of the pistol is absolutely the way to go. I just feel like you buy a NightHawk to say like you have a NightHawk. Not that it isn't amongst, you know, the very best or maybe even the best handgun makers out there, period. It's just that at what point do you start see diminishing returns on this pistol? Now, am I being a little hard on the NightHawk? Yeah, probably so. But, you know, you hold guns like this to a significantly higher standard than say, you know, again, a $3,000 gun, a $1,000 gun. I guess when you get something like this, you know, people who buy these things, they save for a long, long time, you know, and you finally get it, you know, not to say that this isn't a phenomenal pistol, because again, this is a phenomenal pistol. No ifs and buts about it. It's just like, it's just a touch like underwhelming, I think is the best way to put it. It's just a touch underwhelming. There's just so many little small things that I'd like to change with it. And you know, I guess what you would expect with a $6,000 gun. Now again, I'm not everybody. Not everybody wants an extended slide stop. I do. So that doesn't make my opinion like the gospel, if you will. You know, my opinion is just my own garbage opinions. And the guys at NightHawk, they do a phenomenal job making this pistol. There is no questioning that. Again, it's just, man, like, it's just missing that little bit of like, okay, like I get it, you know, like, so like you pick up this gun at the store or something like that and you're like, oh man, this is really nice, you know, like what's this cost? $6,000, you're like, oh, okay, let's just put that one back. Versus like, you know, you get told like, yeah, that one's $6,000 and you kind of like, wow, yeah. Huh, yeah, that's $6,000. Yeah, you know, you kind of feel with it, mess with it and stuff like that. I just don't get that from this NightHawk pistol. And that's okay, because guess what? My opinions, again, are my own trash opinions. So gentlemen, that's a wrap. Thank you for subscribing, liking, and sharing. We'll catch you later.